Hey, welcome to part 2 of Creating a Natural Law Republic, the Constitution series. Hopefully by now you've gotten through part 1 of this series and have come to an understanding that our Constitution was never meant to be perpetual and it has no inherent authority. Given that understanding, it's clear to see that we're living in a world or a system which isn't aligned with objective reality and objective truth. There are many people out there trying to restore our Constitution to its original intent. But again, as I just showed in the last video, I don't understand why people want to go back 234 years. We live in a completely different world now. We have access to instant communication and instant information. And everyone wants to drag us back to a time where it took days, weeks, or months to communicate. And the reason they set up government the way they did was because of the time it took to communicate. So, like Jefferson said, the world belongs to the living. And that's you and I. And we're living in a system in which we have been deluded into thinking gives us freedom, autonomy, protection of our rights, when it doesn't at all. So the thing that everybody is missing who is trying to restore the Constitution or fix the government or any number of things, nobody is thinking out of the box. What nobody is understanding is that it's the Constitution that enables and empowers this government to do all that it's done for the last 200 plus years, and especially in the last 22 months, because look at what they use as their authority, and that's the Constitution. So with that understanding, if we're ever going to break free of this system, we have to create a new construct. There's no fixing this system. Hopefully by now, after watching Manifesting a New Reality, the first 6 parts of Path to Freedom, you've come to the understanding that this can't be fixed. The entire thing is broken. Every single member, leader, if you want to call them leaders, of government is completely illegitimate. From the top of the pyramid all the way down to the lowest in your local school boards. They've all gone along with the PSYOP. So who has questioned even the validity and veracity of, is there even a virus, which again has never been proven to exist? So we have to come to an understanding and an agreement that this entire system is irreparable. There's no fixing it. Everybody within that system is corrupt, bought and paid for, stupid beyond belief. There is no critical thinking among anyone in government from what I can see. They all wear face diapers. And again, they point to the Constitution as their legal authority to do everything that they do. So again, it doesn't protect our rights. It doesn't grant us freedoms. And it is time for us, as it says in the Declaration of Independence, to abolish and replace it. That's the only way we're going to get out of this, people. The only way. So, what I have done is I have drafted a new Constitution for what I call a natural law republic, in which sovereignty is given back to the individual and all power is restored to the individual. As you will see, when I read through this entire document, and I'm going to read through it because most people out there, if they see anything longer than a paragraph, they just won't read it anymore. That's a sad state of affairs in the world today, but that's the fact. Many more people will listen to someone talking and watch a video. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read through the entire Constitution that I've written. I'm going to stop and explain why it's written the way it is. how it restores power, how it guarantees that power is decentralized. And this system cannot be hijacked and taken over. You will see as I read through it, with the checks and balances that I've written into it, how this system works, how it abides by natural law, and how it will give us the autonomy and freedom to live our lives as we choose in a way that we've never had in our entire lives. Again, our freedom has only been an illusion that they've allowed us to have while they set up their agenda in the background until a point came when they could finally take over. And we are on the precipice of that right now. So we have to take action right now and build a critical mass, as I've said over and over again, of people who are willing to sign on to this system and say goodbye to the old one. Because again, once we remove our energy and our power and our compliance, acquiescence, whatever you want to call it, once we remove that from the system just dies. They'll try and fight it, but by the time we get to critical mass, there's nothing they can do. And you'll see it. You'll see my vision as you start following what I'm trying to do here. You know, this is peaceful, this is nonviolent. But I know this is what everybody wants. And all we have to do is say, yeah, let's unite under this idea and let's move away from this system, because this system is oppressive. This system is abusive and it is enslaving humanity. The system that I'm going to lay out for you here in this Constitution is how we emancipate ourselves. It's that powerful. And I don't know if you've read the Declaration of Independence yet, but that goes in conjunction with the Constitution and then the three contracts creating the checks and balances. So, given that, I'm going to flip over to the screen share right now and begin reading the Constitution for the Natural Law Republic of the United States of America. Okay, so here we are. This part one is going to cover the Preamble and Article One, which is the ideology and structure of a natural law republic. So, here we go. We, the individual sovereign men and women of the United States of America, and again, this is applicable in every single nation of the world, so anybody who wants to begin a freedom project movement in their own country, you just have to change the verbiage in here. But pretty much everything else will remain the same. So, that said, in order to form a more perfect union, create a fair and equitable social order, establish true justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common protection of all internal and external oppression, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the Natural Law Republic of the United States of America. And as you may see, this sounds very familiar to the preamble of our current Constitution. And I did that on purpose, because I wanted to honor the intent of the original and the Founding Fathers. However, moving forward, as you'll see, this is written in a way that truly shows that we the people hold the power. Continuing. This Constitution is expressly written to be unlike any other founding document and basis for societal law than ever before created in history. It is written in the spirit and understanding that natural law, or the Creator's law, is the highest and thus only true authority. It is written to be endorsed and recognized by every individual sovereign freely domiciled in this nation as the supreme law of the land. This Constitution recognizes that every single natural man and woman has individual, personal, and bodily sovereignty, and that no person or group of people may illegitimately impose their will upon any other individual, person, or group of people without violating a primary maxim of natural law of doing no harm, otherwise known as the non-aggression principle. Any and all such trespasses shall be settled in a court of common law, and the aggressors made to make the victim whole. Thus, this Constitution and the structure of societal management is meant to be unlike any other before in known human history, as a traditional hierarchical top-down pyramidal power structure is to be abolished in lieu of a more decentralized and sensible system of personal responsibility, as opposed to the archaic model of power or control over others and the imposition of force or coercion against one's personal will. Unlike the traditional governmental structure, which attempted to create checks and balances via three branches of government, executive, legislative, and judicial, the checks and balances in the natural law republic are meant to create a complete decentralization of power and the use of contractual law as the primary mechanism for organization and implementation. The full and primary intent of this Constitution as written for the creation of a natural law republic is to fully restore power back solely to the individual where it inherently belongs, and to protect each signatory sovereign from oppression or coercion from any source, especially any form of communitarian collective. As such, each individual is endowed with certain inalienable rights as bestowed upon them from birth by their Creator, as well as an equally important set of responsibilities with which these rights are balanced in perfect alignment and harmony with natural law. This Constitution lays out the basic foundation and duties of the public service administrations, the common law court system, and the agencies over which they will have responsibility to operate on behalf of all the sovereign individuals of this nation. It will also define the rights and responsibilities of each individual sovereign member of this natural law republic. This Constitution is recognized to be the supreme law of the land as defined by territorial boundaries set by each state, which accepts to be part of its jurisdiction and is only subservient to the Creator and natural law itself. Okay, so as you can see already, the tone of that preamble sets the stage already that we the people have the power. And the articles, again, are going to lay out the structure of the foundation of how this society would run. But if you compare this to the preamble of the original Constitution, it's vastly different in stating who truly has the power in this republic. So moving on, Article 1 is going to talk about the ideology and structure of this natural law republic. And as you can see, we abolish legislature completely in this republic, because the idea of people getting together and thinking up new ways to control and manage people is ludicrous. Once people understand that the personal responsibility lies with themselves and the power lies with themselves, that it's just redundant, wasteful, and ridiculous. So again, moving on to Article 1, ideology and structure. This Constitution is written with the universal understanding that every form of government ever created in the entirety of human history has been unable to stop infiltration, subversion, corruption, and moral decay, or created with the intent of instituting a feudalistic society under the very idea that certain people are more privileged or entitled than others simply by their birthright, and thus the rightful rulers over certain populations. It is this incredibly absurd and false ideology that has created the greatest human tragedies and premature death for hundreds of millions of innocent lives over the centuries. This idea that any man or woman has any right whatsoever to claim power, dominion, or force over any other human being or group of human beings flies in the face of natural human rights and the sovereignty inherent in every sentient living person to live their life in peace and unmolested by any and all illegitimate authority. Thus, the very structure and design of this natural law republic is first and foremost to create a systemic and ironclad firewall that will ensure the moral, logical, and efficient management of all societal operations. This firewall is specifically designed to keep anyone and everyone who would seek to attain power within from altering or destroying its founding intent to protect, first and foremost, the sovereignty and rights of every individual who has willfully chosen to be a member of this republic. This Constitution will illustrate in full how this firewall of protection will work and the requirements necessary for everyone in society to be able to become a voting member of the Public Service Administration. This Constitution is also written with the overwhelming and obvious knowledge of the natural laws of economics and the incredibly devastating effects that past monetary systems and structure have had on society and entire populations. It is inherently known that any debt-based monetary system cannot operate within the confines of the natural laws of economics, and thus lays out the only viable and honest form of monetary creation and regulation known to mankind. This understanding and implementation alone will solve many of the problems endemic with the legacy systems that this natural law republic is designed to replace, not only in the United States of America, but worldwide. It is a system of equity and ensures that wealth is more equally distributed amongst the population, not by methods of taxation and forced redistribution, but by the general and fundamental understanding of rights, responsibilities, economics, natural law, and meritocracy of the sovereign members of this society. Its purpose is to create a truly free market economic system based in natural law that thrives in abundance and fair competition, and to eliminate forever the illegitimate and completely unlawful mechanisms that have created such enormous wealth inequality and poverty throughout the world. The duties and responsibilities of the public service administrations, its departments and agencies, as well as the common law court system will be defined within this Constitution. Any deviation or alteration from these definitions must be decided upon by a unanimous majority of the voting members of the PSAs. Section 1. Fundamental Maxims of Natural Law. In the Natural Law Republic, there is to be no formal legislative body and no formal representative body, as has been traditionally part of legacy government systems. By the maxims of law and personal conduct as generally accepted and understood by the sovereigns of this nation, outlined in the four basic objective realities of human interaction as defined by natural law, any legislative body would be redundant and a waste of time and resources. Simplicity is the guiding rule in a natural law society, as complex and confusing legal codes only complicate a general understanding of each sovereign's duties. Thus, the four maxims of law to be understood and followed under this Constitution and throughout society are as follows. Number 1, the Golden Rule. Do no harm and treat everyone as you would expect to be treated yourself by others. The wrongful imposition of will against anyone's informed and willful consent is the primary violation of natural law in human interactions. Number 2, don't steal. Every violation of natural law is one form of theft or another. Any violation against another person or their property is a crime that can and should be only settled in a court of common law. Any violations against the self are considered vices and serve only as learning experiences. They are not crimes and not subject to common laws. 3, honor your contracts and word. Do all you have promised to do to the very best of your ability and obligations. Next to natural law, contract law is the most powerful and recognized form of law enforceable in a court of common law. And number 4, always respect the balance of nature. We live in a world in which there is a symbiotic and synergistic balance in everything, and upsetting that balance has repercussions in other areas of nature which can have negative and unintended consequences when not handled carefully and with respect for the overall balance. Always act with this understanding to help protect our shared home and environment in all that you do. That covers the extent of how a civil society should operate. The simplicity of design is purposeful so that everyone in society is able to fully understand their personal responsibilities. All crime falls under one of these maxims, and all disputes and reparations able to be settled between two or more parties in the courts of common law instituted within this Constitution. These maxims should be taught to every child from a very young age and practiced by every adolescent and adult in their daily lives. So as you can see, that first section right there lays out the simplicity of the rule of law in a natural law republic. And it should be no more complex than that. The world we live in is made complex to confuse and confound and enslave us because nobody has any idea in many areas what they're allowed and not allowed to do. Those four maxims of law explain it all. So again, as I said in part 2 of The Path to Freedom, simplicity is the key to founding a society aligned with natural law. So eliminating a legislative body vastly changes the structure of society, as it should, because it's the legislative branch that has created the 7 million plus laws, codes, statutes, all under maritime admiralty law that I'll be getting to in Section 3 or Article 3 of this Constitution that will be abolished in lieu of a common law system. So right off the bat, we're showing that we the people have the power and we the people have personal responsibility as well. So moving on to Section 2. Structure of Public Service Administration. A National Public Service Administration is to be created, designed, and implemented to operate as a not-for-profit corporation and structure. This PSA will be staffed by members of the sovereign population of the Republic who have shown and proven themselves to be of high character, intellect, and moral fiber. A written test will be available at no charge to anyone and everyone amongst the population who wishes to become a member of this protector class or any public service administration. The size of this protector class of sovereigns is essentially limited only to the extent that those whom have taken the time to learn, study, and fully understand the information needed to pass a written test can become members. This test will display their knowledge of history, natural law, critical thinking, ethics, economics, philosophy, and the basic structure and responsibilities of the Natural Law Republic and its public service administrations. Only members of the Republic who have passed this test will be allowed to hold positions of responsibility in PSAs. However, there are no limitations to the size that the protector class can grow, and ideally, the larger the better for the entire nation, as the effort it takes to learn this information only creates a society in which more members are operating at higher levels of consciousness and intellect, and thus society becomes stronger and more stable in the process. This basic system is designed with a specific intent to filter and keep out the psychopaths, narcissists, and megalomaniacal personality types that have always infiltrated governmental bodies and positions of illegitimate power throughout human history and have done unconscionable and immense damage to human life as well as the natural world. It is designed to be a system of meritocracy in which only people of good character, intellect, and intentions have influence into how society should be managed. These people will have shown that they fully understand the fundamental basics of natural law and will live their lives by such standards. By doing so, they will best know how to manage the functions of the PSAs under the terms of this Constitution and ensure that society and all of its activities remain in balance with natural law. Section 3. Guarantee of individual sovereignty and decision making. Every signatory member in the Natural Law Republic will be recognized as a sovereign and free human being. Everyone is at liberty to live their lives as they see fit and engage in whatever economic activity of their choosing, so long as they abide by the 4 primary maxims of natural law. Any major decisions to be made by the public service administrations that require significant input from a large portion of the population will be set to a vote by all members of the protector class whom have passed the Natural Law Republic test and are members in good standing. On matters in which the sovereigns at large, who are not currently members of the protector class, and which would create a necessary and fair contribution amongst the general public for services to be rendered and maintained by the PSA, a general election would be held amongst the entire population. Other than these 2 specific matters of decentralized decision-making, every single sovereign in the population would engage in the ultimate form of voting on a daily basis, whereby they personally choose to spend their money and direct their energy in an open, competitive, and free market economy that abides by natural law as well. This is the very essence of a truly free market system, which is the economic engine for prosperity, equity, sustainability, and abundance in any peaceful society. The idea of and very word democracy is wholly unnecessary in a natural law republic, as it has historically shown to be a disastrous form of societal management that only gives the illusion of choice, essentially equates to mob rule, has always created an unnatural imbalance of power, and only serves to act as a mechanism of division amongst the people of every population. Thus, a natural law republic is in no way, shape, or form to be considered any form of democratic system. Section 4. Protector class social contract and terms of service. Every member of the protector class will be signatory to an additional and separate social contract by which they will agree to abide and will be held to a higher standard of personal responsibility. Every member of this class will also be eligible to work in any available position for which they are fully qualified within any public service administration agency or department. Terms of service in any and all positions are open-ended and shall begin and end at the will of the individual unless the terms of the contract or oath are broken or violated, which will result in immediate termination without any further pay. If someone has shown great responsibility in doing a job well and effectively, they should be able to maintain that position for as long as they continue to do so, or until they decide that they want to leave of their own accord and free will. In this case, the vacancy will be filled via the traditional interview and hiring process and not via the process of elections. The only way to be eliminated from any position in a public service administration is to violate one of the 4 maxims of the Moral Code of Personal Conduct. Any act of corruption or purposeful abuse of responsibility will result in immediate termination of that position, and the social contract as a member of the protector class will be immediately rescinded. This will result in the return to individual sovereign status, and that person will be able to live out their life with the personal rights and responsibilities of all other free sovereigns. So, just to interject here real quick, as you can see, what we're doing is we're setting up a system of personal responsibility in which people only of high moral character, unlike the current system where the worst people in society get into positions of government. This is a system that protects the public service administrations from ever being taken over or hijacked. But again, as I go through the rest of the Constitution, you'll see how the checks and balances and firewalls are built into other areas as well. Section 5. Size and scope of public service administrations. The size of the public service administrations will be limited to that of absolute necessity so as to run smoothly and afford each office or position holder a good quality of life. Growth and or elimination of any positions will depend solely on need and the size and scope of the population and economy. It will operate as fluidly as natural law operates. Public service administrations are meant to be instituted on a nationwide basis and will comprise of national, state, and municipal public service administrations. The scope and responsibilities of the public service administrations will be limited solely to any areas of economic activity in which a free market economic solution is not viable. Thus, their responsibilities are limited in scope to that of public utility in which competition is invalid, illogical, or would create an unfair balance and equity amongst the populations. The 2 most important and obvious responsibilities are the public roadways and national infrastructure, as well as the creation and management of an honest, completely transparent, and non-debt-based monetary system. If areas of the economy in which the public at large benefits and is shown to be of value for all to be managed by a decentralized, non-competitive authority and run at a non-profit cost basis, then the individual sovereigns of the nation will decide to create a new agency at that time. In addition to the infrastructure and monetary agencies, a national military will also be managed and maintained by the National Public Service Administration until such a time comes throughout the world when all other nations have converted to natural law republics and the need for national militaries is no longer necessary for protection. As humanity finally evolves to a point in realizing the complete insanity and absurdity of war and redundancy of funding and maintaining standing militaries. All other industries and service sectors at the creation of this Constitution are to work seamlessly in the free market economy and operate under the same 4 maxims of natural law as do all sovereigns of the nation. All public and private businesses are to be instituted under a social contract and to be reformed under new terms and agreements which align their activities and business models with natural law. This reformation is specifically designed for businesses as a check and balance in the new societal system to keep any business entity from abusing their size or power in creating any unfair market imbalances or monopolies. Any and all disputes between businesses, corporations, their customers, or partners are to be settled in a court of common law. Section 6. Funding of the public service administrations via a contribution system. It has long been self-evident to many people throughout the world that taxation is essentially a form of theft. As a gross violation of the second maxim of natural law, taxation will not be permissible in a natural law republic. However, For such a system of societal management to be possible, ensure the balance of justice, and maintain systems which truly serve the public interest, it must be paid for in some way. Thus, a logical and equitable system of contribution by sovereigns of the nation will be implemented to pay for the upkeep and maintenance of this system. The only true fair way to enact this system of contribution is to set a small percentage of every point of sale purchase to go towards the operation and maintenance of this system. Since this PSA system enables and maintains the smooth operation of a free market economy, it is logical that from this source it should be supported. The percentage will initially be set at a figure to be decided based on the size of the PSA network, the level of economic activity, and gross domestic product. Once all factors are calculated, a percentage of contribution per sale will be created. This percentage will be adjusted as often as necessary to ensure that the PSAs operate at a not-for-profit basis as defined in this Constitution, and all figures will be transparent and easily accessible at any time to every member of the Republic. However, the percentage of contribution should essentially fall somewhere between 2 to 4% of all transactions and no more. The level of taxation under the old system was absurd and criminal beyond reproach and will never be allowed in a natural law republic. This will allow the sovereigns to build real wealth, create abundance in their lives, and decide for themselves where they wish to spend their hard-earned money. This system of contribution is meant solely to pay for the employment of PSA management, all related agencies, employees, and maintenance of all necessary infrastructure to house such organizations. It is to be operated solely at a cost basis as to not waste any resources of the sovereigns of this republic. Section 7. Payment for public roadways and vital infrastructure. The only exception in addition to this equally shared contribution to be submitted by all point-of-sale transactions will be the addition of a usage fee for public roads. It has long been debated as to what is the most fair way to pay for our public roadways and infrastructure, which allows not only for the freedom to travel, but the smooth and seamless movement of supply chains and free market activities. Everyone in society benefits greatly from the public road system, and thus the payment and maintenance for this system must be fair and equitably borne by individual usage of this service. Full details of this system to be implemented to manage the public road system are documented in Article 4 of this Constitution. Okay, so there you have it, the Preamble and Article 1 of the proposed Constitution for a natural law republic. Hopefully by now you can see the power in a document such as this. And by having everyone sign on to this in society and make it the supreme law of the land, it renders the old one obsolete. And as you can also see, just by the Preamble and Article 1, it fully does restore power and sovereignty back to the individual. So, follow me now to part 3 of this series, where I will be covering the system of justice based in natural law and common law in a natural law republic. We'll see you over there.